Hello, I'm Julie Haymaker, and welcome to the Passion Flower Shrinkets video. The first thing I'm going to do is go over the kit, the things that you need to supply. And in this case, I do recommend buying the kit because it has some things in it that are a little more custom for this particular piece. And this piece is unique, and we're trying to mimic a flower, and sometimes we're just doing abstract flowers. So when we're trying to mimic a flower, we need to make things that fit that flower, that are specifically made for that flower. So let me go over what's in your kit. You will have your silk ribbon, and you're welcome to trade that out. If you don't like the silk, just don't use it and put something else on it. You will have your custom-made filigree, and then you will have your findings and your bugle beads, seed beads in here, sequins, head pins, and then my handmade sequin that is just made for this kit, and then fireline. You will have pre-cut shapes, the unique stamen, and 3 very large shapes. And these die cuts that I'm showing you are sold on my site. So if you don't buy the kit and you want to mimic kind of this, you can get these die cuts on my site at juliehaymaker.com. So you have those, and then you're going to have your custom palette here with its colors in it of pastels, and then some E6000. The next thing, these are the things that are not part of your kit. You're going to need a craft heat gun to shrink the plastic. I highly recommend a container, and this is the one I sell on my site, my hand forming kit. It's a silicone bowl, so I recommend silicone, a wood container, small wood container, or a cardboard, because those things don't conduct as much heat. I do not recommend using glass or metal. And then you're going to need your pink bezel mold, and then we're using the white domed mold, the Shrinkit molds. You're going to need wire cutters, a round nose pliers, and a flat nose pair of pliers, scissors, and optional colored pencils. I used a nice deep fuchsia and a nice altar blue. So that's what's in our kit, and so we're going to go ahead and look at our first step. Oops, I always forget something. You're going to want a beading needle. And hands are washed, frosted side. I'm going to do this one first. Now, I'm going to use some artist license on this passion flower. Passion flowers can range from a violet color to a blue, and some have white. And you just might want to Google them and look in your images and see what colors they are. I'm going to, like I said, do artist license and add colors that I've seen. I'm pushing the limits here because I'm going to put a little bit of orange in there just for interest. So I'm coming in here with my pink and a little bit of my orange and yellow. I want to make sure that I'm not migrating too many colors here. I noticed. So just some pinks and orange, a little bit of orange on this. I'm just going for interest, layering interest, so my piece doesn't look flat. And then on this, I'm going to come in here with these lines. And this is optional if you feel like doing this. You don't have to use the colored pencil. Where it goes more pinky, I'm going to introduce that purple, going with a light to heavier line. so that the purple becomes present in this. And then some little dots on the outer tips to add just a decorative detail to this. So that's one option. Now, wipe down. I've got a kind of a glossy paper here. It's got a finish on it, so it allows me to wipe off my surface. So this one, I'm coming in more with the purple and the traditional blues on this. And then I might just introduce that pink a little so that it relates to this one. And I can put just a little bit of that teal in there, and you see that creates a warmer blue if I lay that over. And there I am with that. Now for this, I'm going to come in with blue lines. And I'm doing a nice little thick and thin line, light and heavy, light touch to heavier touch. So it creates more of a contoured line. Then out on the tips, I'm doing the pink. And the reverse of what I did. Got a barking dog there. To create some interest in these lines. And layered up, this is what they will look like. You can choose. There's a little mark on defect when I rolled it on my roller mill that made an impression on that. Now I'm just going to give you, this is a bonus. What if you didn't want to use the artist license and you wanted to make sure that you had just a blue feel? I'm going to recommend that you make these different. Once again, go make sure they're different. And I'm going to put a little orange in that because that'll create that crimson color that I saw on one of the passion flowers online. So there's another option. And you can go on and on. You can go more of the violety passion flower. You can create all blues, pieces like this, and then just move them around when you're layering them so that you see variety in your petals. Variety is important. You don't want your piece to look flat. I'm coming in here with this. And there's our choices. And then I'm gonna, just play with your palette and get what you like. When you mix like purple with orange over the top of each other, you will get a brown color because these are complements. So, just kind of stay within the color families, which would be using these colors or these colors on a petal. If you mix orange with the purple, blending it together, you will get a brown color. And the same with if you use the yellow with the blues and stuff, you will get a brown color. So keep isolated here in this color family on a petal and on a petal with that. That doesn't mean that another petal across from it can't be these colors, but just don't blend the yellow directly over the purple, or the orange directly over the purple, or the yellow directly over the blue. And if you make a mistake, you can wash your Shrinkets off and start over again. So let's get shrinking. The first one I'm going to shrink is the white piece. And after I shrink it, I'm going to be cutting off the rim of this. And this rim is nice because it keeps these legs or petals, stamen legs, we're going to use this as a stamen, from folding in and touching each other when shrinking, which can happen with really delicate pieces like this. I'm going to show one here that was shrunk earlier and kind of unevenly. Once it's shrunk, we'll take simple wire cutters, and we can just cut the edge off. So the other thing that I'm going to be using when I shrink is my little warming cup, because that will contain the heat and help this shrink faster, and help me not to get uneven areas that kind of shrink weird. As this one. This was shrunk without the cup, and, it ran into some trouble. So this one here, this warming cup, will keep the heat contained. Even if it doesn't fit, it soon will when it shrinks, and I will show that to you. So I'm going to keep my heat around the perimeter, and it may flip up and off the pin right now. We're just going to get it basically shrunk down, and then if we need to adjust and move into position, we can. So I'm going to keep my heat right about this level, and I'm going to go around. Keeping the heat around the perimeter, hitting the perimeters evenly, making sure that it stays even when it shrinks down. This cup really helps it to do so. Now I'm positioning it on my pink domed mold, and I might just touch some edges just to see that it's centered. And it's done shrinking, so now I'm going to put my top on. And I'm counting 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And on this one, it didn't matter to me which side I shrunk it on. There is kind of a frosted side on the white and a shiny side, and it didn't matter to me. So I get this really fun little piece, and yeah, there's some wonkiness with it, which is the nature of a big bead like this, but this is exactly what I want because I'm making stamens. So I'm going to set that aside, and now I'm going to be shrinking my leaf and flower pieces. I will do my leaf first, and what I have to do is decide, do I want shiny or matte? I think I want shiny on this. So I'm going to put shiny up, place it in here, and I will be doing it the same way. Large pieces are do very well when they're in a container. It is a lot more difficult to shrink them if you don't have some kind of a container. And if I suspect that might have touched, I quickly pull it apart. I didn't just keep going, I checked. It's always good to check. And then I'm finishing it off. Back to talking about the container. I'm going to shift this so that it's centered. A container can be this silicone bowl, which I sell on my site as my hand forming, a nice little cardboard box, a little wood box, wood, cardboard, silicone are containers that don't absorb a lot of heat. So I do recommend that you avoid, number one, plastic, it will melt. Glass will heat up with the shrink plastic and get very hot to touch, and so will metal. So wood, cardboard, or silicone are really nice for your containers. So there's our lovely little piece, and as you can see, it has a nice variety in it. Next, we're going to do the flowers. Putting these in, I'm going to do one with the shiny side up, and I'm going to do one with the matte side up. So I got this one in here. I guess that's going to be the matte. It looks like there's a little scrap of something on it. And I want to make sure that's off, because if it's a scrap of shrink plastic, it'll fuse in it. So here we are, frosted side up. I'm tilting this up so you can see. I'm going straight down with my heat gun. And I keep my heat out to the perimeters of these flower petals, because that ensures it's my best chance that these petals won't curl in on themselves and touch. There, it's done moving on its own accord, and I can come down and form it. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And as you see, we've got this gorgeous variety of colors on this. So our passion flower is going to look really pretty. Now, this one I'm going to do with the shiny side facing up, because the other one I did matte. And same technique. Heat gun around the perimeter evenly at first, and then once it curls in, and it's wanting to spin, I hit those petals out to the perimeter. Now here we've got one. We want to make sure that those don't touch. Maybe they didn't. Oh, they had a little tiny sticking together. So notice I stopped right away to gently pull them apart. And so it may be the case that they had it touched, but I want to be sure of this. So that's done shrinking, but it kind of curled out like that. I'll hold it out and press down. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. So I've got something that's got some, whoops, I got that off too soon. It was still, get it out of the heat. Bowl was warm. There. Now, what I have here is a really pretty layering. You can see the varieties of color that I have going on here, and this will be lots of fun to play with. Next, we're going to shrink down our little cup in the center, and I'm going to be using the domed mold for this, and that's the white one. And now I have to decide, do I want shiny or do I want matte? Well, I'm going to make that shiny, I think. So shiny facing up. And I don't need, it's a small piece, I don't need my pink for it because doesn't need contained heat. It's small enough that it'll work just fine. I've got my heat gun at an angle so you can see it. I'll put this to deflect the heat out, but normally I like you to go straight down. So then I'm coming in here and 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And I'm going to show you a couple of pieces that I did earlier. And these, I used a lot more of the pink on this, and just a little bit of the purple right there. If you want a look that's more pink. And then this one here, a little pink mixed a little bit more with the purple. Notice how it went a little more gray purple. Notice how these give us a totally different look. Then we're back to that one, the first one I did, and what if you put that over it? So you've got a choice in here. This was a lot more of this deep, darker purple, and notice how it went. It gave us a nice kind of shadowy color if we want to use it in the background. This one is much more of the pink with just a little bit of blue, purple in the center. This one here, I'm going to guess, I thought I put blue with it, but I think I put a little bit of the orange in it and made it more of the pastel-y orange color. So it was a mixture of those. So this shows you that I have options to play with, which I did like this one here, just because of the brightness of this and the grayness of this looks like shadows. And it gives me a lot of depth with that. And then there's also, I just want to show you this. There's just going pink on pink. We still get variety. So play with variety. You know, you have options of playing with variety, and all will work really well. So there we are. Now I'm going to cut the wheel frame off of this, and I'm using just regular wire cutters, and I'm just going to cut one side of this first. This is another way you can also trim up your shrink plastic with this. It cuts so well that you'd think if you use scissors, it wouldn't be sharp enough, and it may more break than it would cut. Now I'm going over to the other side of that. And then the other thing with shrink plastic that you can do is you can sand it. If you've got rough edges, after you cut, you can sand. Now, when I get this done, I'll have, you're going to see, I will have these little lines here on this. And if I want, I can just cut them off. I'm going to show you, if I wanted to make these pointed, see how I was able to make a little point there? I don't want that. I like the graphicness of just these little straight edges. It's, you know, I like geometric, real simple geometric shapes. So that is how you cut your stamen. And this is probably the direction I'm going to go with this. And then my little green bead in the center. And that's just very colorful to me. I think it is. I may use one of these others. Who knows? Right now, I like that look. Okay. So we're going to make our center stamen. And we're using these little green sequins, these little 11 green beads, and these little bugle beads. The first thing I'm going to do, our stamen is going to have five petals, or little points. So what we're going to do is we're going to string on 5 green beads. Got 4 on there, I've got 5, okay? And then coming through here, and I'm gonna go back around that again, okay? So I followed my path and I went around again. And that, if I pull tight, would give me a little circle. And I'm going to keep that loose because now I've got the tail. I'm going to keep the tail out of the way. And I'm going to follow my path again, but in between each one, I'm going to grab a bugle bead. And I did miss putting one little bead down here, so hang on. The beads I forgot were the stopper beads. These are the adorable little 15 iridescent turquoise. So where were we? We picked up our bugle bead, and we are going to pick up a sequin. I'm going to move a little pile of these here. I'm going to pick up a 15, and I'm going to string that on. Got a little bit too much of a tail here, so I don't need this much. I'm going to cut some of that off. There. And once I've got that on there, I'm going to bypass the little turquoise, come back down through the green, and then down through the bugle, and then over to this next one, the next bead. I'm going to pull that tight, okay? And then repeat bugle, square sequin, green turquoise, stack on, bypass the green, tiny green turquoise, down through it and over to the next bead. And I'm pulling this tight as I go because I've got a lot of string on there. Then, and we're going to be just repeating our sequence. Bugle bead, green sequin, turquoise, bypass the turquoise, come on down and over here again, pull tight, pulling kind of tight as I go, even though this circle here I kept a little loose to give me areas to work. Bugle bead, green sequin, and turquoise. Bypass, come down, and then we're at our last one. And my dog is barking that we're really happy that we're at our last one. She likes it, she approves. And then sequin, turquoise, bypass that turquoise, come on down, and we're going to where we met, okay? Which you can see the tail is right there. So if you want to go up through all of these, you can, or you can pull it tight, and then I recommend going through the, if you don't go and follow your path totally, at least follow your path around. I've got I'm going to pull my tail out of here because I'm getting there. I'm just going to shift my needle here a little bit. Beaders know this. Work our tail so it's not in our way. There. I'm following my path of green beads around. So it's your choice if you want to go back up and around and down. I'm choosing not to. I'm just following my path over to where I started. That should make it strong. And I've got this little cute pinwheel. And then I'm going to come in here. Now, when we construct this, we're going to be putting, and I want this tight, we're going to be putting this big bugle bead on there, and I want this tight. So you may want to slip that on there right there when you tie off. Slip that in there. See how I have it there? And I'm going to cut more off of this when I tie my knot and tie off there, so you can really see what I'm doing. See how I slipped that in the center? But I want that tight because I don't want that sliding up and down. I want the friction of the tightness to kind of hold it in place. So I'm pulling tight, and I'm doing a surgeon's knot, so I wrapped that tail around twice. And then I'm pulling tight again. I'm just going to do a single one here. So I did one surgeon's knot. I don't want to bulk up with a lot of knots in there. So I've got 3 on there, and then I'll cut that. But this is our little stamen. See how cute? Okay, then I'm hoping that my scissors are still sharp enough. I'm about ready to get more scissors. New scissors there, because you see I'm chewing a bit. And then you could drop a little drop of super glue on that if you felt you wanted to keep your knot tight, or some bead fix. And I'm gonna do just that. Drop that down into the knot, let that cure, and once again, little cutie pie. So on to our next step. Now comes assembling. And I'm going to show you how I make the top of our stamen. First, I've got a pair of scissors, and I've got these 6-point flowers here. And I'm going to take this green one here, and I'm going to cut every other petal off in a in between, right here with my scissors. Therefore making a 3-petal bead, which is mimicking that a passion flower has another tier of this configuration coming out of the top of it. But for artistic sake, I'm choosing to do it in another material and a different look so that we don't get our eyes visually overwhelmed. So then you're going to take a head pin, and here comes kind of the challenging part. I've stacked a seed bead on, and there might be several of these in your kit you can choose from. So I'm going to do this with the white one. And then I'm going to put on this really long bugle bead. And I kind of recommend buying the kit from me, because the kit's going to have these little special things in it that are unique to this kit, and that I'm kind of hand making or whatever. I mean, I do sell sequins, lots of sequins on my site. And you can certainly invent your own. So next we're going to slip on this stamen, and remember we tied that on there really tight. And then our little shrinket bead goes here, and it's what makes this beautiful passion flower have this really unique kind of Dr. Seussy look. And the reason we're using a head pin is because this will stand proud with the head pin. Now, a unique thing that you'll have in your kit is this handmade sequin that I've done using, cut out using on my Sizzix. I've used thin dies like this. And these are dies that you can't use in shrink plastic because they're too delicate. So I've used it on what they call sequin film. And you just have to Google sequin film. I got this on Amazon, and look for 3 and 5 ply. And most of it's 5 ply. And you can get it in lots of colors. And then you can use it on your Sizzix machine to cut these shapes. Or if you have a Cricut cutter, you can cut them. And I've done that. It's kind of a pain in the butt, I'm going to say, pulling the selvage away from it. And so I've done these for those that are buying the kit. And so here we go. We put that on there. And if you choose to not use this, you're fine. You'll be just fine. So there, I've placed that on there, and then I get to pick. I'm going to just show you my selection of colors here and how I can pick. So let's just start with this dark purple, because that's what a passion flower is, and we could do pink, and we could do, I think passion flowers come in pink too. We could do something like that, or something like this, and that the colors are a little more toned down. So when the colors are toned down, you certainly see this part clear. And then this was the one you saw me demo. Okay, so that's much more colorful. And then I could come in here with the green, and that's a very colorful piece. If you don't want something as colorful, you've got other choices of how you've made your piece. So let's just look and examine this one right here. If I chose that, it's got a real pink tone, and they're all lovely. But I'm going to go with, what I'm going to go with is the one that I demoed. So I'm putting on the green on the back of that, and I'm showing you what I have here, which is really fun. And then because my holes are really big in the back, and this is because the die cut I used has big holes, I'm going to put some stoppers back there to fill in the hole. And that's a sequin and a little polymer clay Heishi bead. Now here comes the part that you'll find challenging. It's a very old technique that I used to use all the time. So what you're going to need for this is round nose pliers and straight nose pliers. And then we're going to use the spray painted disc that's in your kit. So let's put that on the back. Now you have another choice. Flipping that around. These here can be glued in between the layers, and then they won't spin. So you can use E6000 or gel super glue. And that way you can kind of position them the way you want them to appear. Gonna make sure that I get my little stamen where I want it to go and get everything lined up, and hold it for a few minutes to let that glue set up. And if you're using E6000 glue, and I will include E6000 glue in your kit, you're going to want it to set up a little bit more, and you'll be able to, after you get this all done, play with it a bit, where with the super glue, it should set up a little faster. Sometimes it doesn't, though. So I'm going to stick this little sequin on there, and just to keep this little guy in place. little head pin more aligned. It just gives it more of a chance to line up. Then I'm coming down here and I'm pulling this tight. Now, let's begin. What you're going to do is you're going to pretend that you're wire wrapping, doing a wire wrapped loop. Get some of this out of the way. I'm just going to draw this as if I'm looking at it like so. So I've got my tail here in step 1. And in step 2, I'll be taking my pliers, my round nose pliers, and creating, and I will be demoing this, creating my wire wrapped loop. So this is the nose of my plier, and I'm going to create a loop around this. I've exaggerated it. Okay, this is the other side of the pliers. Okay, that's how you make a wire wrap loop. And then in the next step, I'll have this wire wrapped loop and my tail, and I can take my flat nose pliers and clamp them down on this like you would if you're doing a wire wrap. Let's pretend those are the wire wraps clamping down on this loop, okay? And then you just simply wrap this tail around the tail, just like you would if you were doing a wire wrap. Now, I know that's a really simple drawing of how you make a wire wrap loop, and it'll be better when I show it, but I just wanted to show that the steps I'm going to be taking. So I like to do my wire wrap loops in my left hand. So I'm putting that about so, and just like any wire wrapped loop, I'm giving myself a neck, and I want you to pretend that this is a bead collection down here. You're just making a bead charm, okay? Don't think, oh my God, this is a pendant and it's facing out, and what are we doing? Just pretend that you're making a bead dangle. And come here with your wire and wrap it around. It's kind of hard to get under there. Pretend that, you know, it's hard to get under there. So we're going to kind of squeeze it and get it under there, okay? And I'm going to pull it out. And I've got my wire wrapped. I'm going to show you this. I've got my wire wrapped loop. And it's a big one because it was really hard for me to get under there. But that's still okay because I can grab this loop like a wire wrapped loop and then take my wire and wrap it tightly around the neck. And what happens is as I wrap this, it corkscrews this in really tight. It really is tightening that up. Going around as many times as I can, creating that nice tight loop. And I can even overlap my wire if I want to in a bundle. So this is what I have. It was a wire wrap loop, and I want you to pretend that this is just a dangle, that you're just making a wire wrap dangle. And if you try to overthink it, you go, how do you do that? But if you think you're doing a wire wrap, you're fine. So let's cut this tail off. And the reason I like to use this on this is look how stiff that is. Oh my God, this is so nice and tight. If I had used beading thread fire line, the stamen would have wobbled. And now I have my little stamen, and we created friction on that, and it just kind of floats there. Now let's look at the back of this. Now it's standing out. Well, we'll just take it and fold it over. Okay, just fold it out of the way. And there we go. Now, we are done. And we've got these little cute guys in here. They're so cute. And it looks like a passion flower. You had your color choices, and then I can even this out a bit in there and let my gel super glue or your E6000 dry, and then I can press my hand down on that. Now, next we want to put our bail on, and you may have a silver bail or a bronze bail. And I'd said that I had put E6000 in your kit, so I'm going to get my E6000 out. And I'm just going to put that on the back, and I'm going to nestle it under there. I could put it anywhere I want on here, but I'm just going to choose to put it right there. And I'm going to let that cure. And once that's cured, we can put our ribbon on. So I'm bringing this down so you can see it. And it's adorable. And then next, when I see you, I'll be putting the ribbon on. So we're ready to put our ribbon on here. And if you don't want to do ribbon in your kit, that's in your kit. This is a hand-dyed silk ribbon. You see me use it a lot, and the reason I use it a lot is my skin is tender, and the ribbon is very nice around my neck. So I'm just stuffing that in there. And then you can tie it off, okay? So that's how we do that. Now, in your kit, I've added a little piece of hand-dyed wool felt. And I'll show you how I'm going to use this. You can cut it in any shape you want. And any position, I'm not sure where you're going to, what's going on back here with yours. So I'm leaving it for you to hand cut. And then I'm going to take some E6000 glue. And I'm going to put it on there. My E6000 glue has seen its better days. It's unhappy. Yours won't be this thick. And I'm putting this right here. Holding it down. And that is so that this back, gives it more of a finished look. And in case your clothing, you have an open weave clothing, nothing will get caught on that. So there we go. And we are finished. Thanks.